morning everyone. I am back today with another tutorial. I'm going to be working all day showing houses. I've got a lunch meeting, I've got a few different things going on. So I want to just come on and do a very professional look with you. Something that I would do if I need my makeup to last all day, but also I still want it to look professional. We don't want anything over the top, just a normal, feminine, cute little makeup look. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I did already wash and moisturize my skin. I went through my whole skincare routine, so I'm ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is go in with the Cover FX Mattifying Primer because I do have pretty oily skin and I don't want my skin to start getting really greasy and breaking down the foundation throughout the day. I am going to take this Morphe brush, the Morphe M439, it's just a foundation brush, and I'm going to take one pump of the IT Cosmetics CC cream. This is the CC Plus Color Correcting Full Coverage Cream, and I am in the shade Fair, and I think that's the lightest one they have. The undertone really isn't perfect for me. I really have more cool tones. You can tell it's kind of yellow, but once you blend it in, it's really not too bad, and once we get powders and blush, bronzer, all of that on, you really won't even notice. This has a ton of coverage. That was one pump and it's going to cover my whole face, and that is fine. We don't want to put too much of this on. It does have sunscreen, 50 SPF, which is a huge reason why I'm using it, because we definitely don't want to be getting that sun damage. Okay, so that one pump covered my whole face. You can tell I still have some freckles peeking through. That's okay, I actually like that look. It makes me look a little more natural. So I'm going to take my beauty sponge. Now that I've gone through and put all of the coverage on my face, I tend to get more coverage with a brush, so I put that on first, and then I like the finish that a sponge gives me. So then I'll go back in with my sponge. It'll pick up any product that's like in excess if we have too much in one place. It'll pick up that excess product. It'll also give us a really pretty finish on the skin. You can already tell that it doesn't look quite as yellow as it did when we first started, so that's good. And I'm also going to go in with a little bit of concealer. So I like to go in with more of a cool tone concealer if my foundation happens to be a little bit too yellow. That does happen a lot. Pretty much every foundation is too yellow for me. It's kind of hard for me to find a match. So in that case, I will go in with the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. This is in C0.5, which I believe the C stands for cool, which is the undertones I have. If you're not sure what undertones are in your skin, I've heard before that you can look at the veins like in your arm or like in your wrist. Mine are really blue, and that's how I know I have cool tone undertones. If you have more of green, if your veins show more green, then you probably have more of like an olivey undertone. You can look it up online if you aren't sure. I'm by no means an expert. So once I've blended in that to kind of the highlighted points of my face, I am going to take a little bit under the eye. I don't want to get too crazy because this can really make you look like you're doing a little bit too much, like you're, a little bit too extra, which I'm normally okay with. But if I'm just going to work, I really don't want it to be too exaggerated. I'm also going to carry that up over the eye. I know it does seem like a lot of concealer, but once you blend that out and carry it up over the eye, it's really not. Sorry if my voice is kind of congested. I'm having a little bit of allergies today, but that's okay. So once I've blended all of that out, I'm going to take my Maybelline Fit Me powder. This is in the color Fair 05. And then I'm going to take a powder brush. This is just a flat powder brush. It's by Luxie. It's actually called their Precision Foundation, but I don't use it for foundation. So if it's been a minute since you blended out that under eye concealer, you may go back in and blend that out really quick again before you put that powder on your under eye, because if it's already set down with some creasing, you can get rid of some of that creasing before you put the powder back on. And that way you don't get really wrinkly under eyes, which is totally fine. I mean, if you have wrinkles, they're going to be there. That'll just keep you from getting excess wrinkles under your eyes that you don't actually have, because I think we all just want to have the least amount of wrinkles as possible. So once I've used that little brush to set where my concealer is, I'm going to use a big powder brush, and I'm going to tap that over the whole rest of my face. And I don't rub or wipe usually, I kind of just tap it on, because that'll keep it from rubbing off your foundation underneath. Now that I'm looking a little bit ghostly, let's add back in a little bit of color. I'm going to take the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. You can tell this is well loved. This is the color Light Bronzer. And I really don't find there's too much of a difference in the shades between light bronzer and bronzer. I kind of use them interchangeably. And I'm going to put that on the lower part of my cheeks. We're not going to contour, but we just want to add a little bit of color. And sometimes bronzer can have the same effect. Put it right up here on my temples. Make sure you bring that into your hairline. You can always wash your headband. If you bring it up into your hairline, it'll definitely make it look more natural. Some on the chin, some on the nose. You can tell the inside of my face is more highlighted, and that's because we've added the bronzer just to the perimeter and a little bit on the nose. It's a really good illusion for your face if you want to make it all look a little bit tighter and brought in. I have a really round face and I'm a little bit self-conscious about it, so that'll just help me look a little more ovular, if that makes sense. Next, I'm going to take this Pixi by Petra blush. It's in the color Beach Rose. It is a really pretty color. I mean, it's almost like a mauve-y, but it's not. It's kind of even, it could be even a bronzer color, but it is a little pinker than that in person. So I'm going to put that on my cheeks and blend it in with that bronzer that I just put in. And this is just a flat blush brush. Keeping that pretty low because it's a matte blush. And once I've put the color down, I'm going to take my powder brush, just go back in and blend those in together. Okay, so I did use a matte primer, I used a lot of powder, and I used completely matte blush and bronzer. So I'm going to add a little bit of a shimmery blush. This is Big Mama from the Balm. It is pretty much my go-to of like a blush topper, which is going to be like a blush, but it's going to have a little bit of a sheen to it. And that can just bring a little bit of life back to your skin. Make it look a little more healthy. Next, I'm going to spray my face with a dewy setting spray, so to add a little bit more shimmer to the skin. And then it should be a little bit damp when I go to put my highlighter on, so my highlighter looks more intense. That's just a little trick you can do if you're wanting your highlighter to be a little bit more pop-in than it normally would be. So this is the Catrice Primifying Dewy Glow Fixing Spray, and guys, this is fantastic. If you want something to give you a glow, this costs, I can't remember, like $5.99 something. It is so inexpensive, and it actually does last for a long time. It's a really small bottle, and when you get it, you're like, what is this? But it actually does last you quite a while. You've got to shake it up. It has some kind of shimmery particles in it, but let me just show you the difference. So you can kind of see I have some sheen here, but really the rest of my face is pretty matte, and that's the before. So let me show you the after. Look at that. Look at that glow. Oh, yes. Okay, so let's add a little bit of highlighter while we're here. I'm going to take the Mary Lumanizer from the Balm. You'll find that I do use a lot of Balm products. I like them. It's B-A-L-M, by the way, if you've been looking for it. I like the Balm's products because they kind of have a vintage feel. They're pretty high-end. I mean, they can be a little bit expensive, but if you can find it when you get it on a deal and you find those go-to products that you use all the time, it's worth the money. They come with a ton of product in each thing. I mean, this blush is a huge blush pan. It really is huge. I've had this forever, and it lasts a really long time. So I'm going to go in with this highlighter. I think it's the lightest highlighter that they have at the Balm. And it's just a powder highlighter, but it's so pretty, and it's so natural. It doesn't have any glitter to it. It's really just all sheen. It is absolutely gorgeous on the skin. And they do have these, they're called the Lumanizer sisters. I think they have like 3 different shades in it. So they have shades for different skin tones. If you're not as pale as me, most people aren't. And they do have other highlighters that will probably match your skin tone. So we're going to go in and blend that out. look at it. I mean, it looks wet. So pretty. So pretty. Recently, I invested in a Natasha Denona, one of these little palettes. I think it was like $25 for 5 eyeshadow shades, which is a lot, but I've always wanted to try Natasha Denona shadows, and I've really not wanted to invest. Some of her palettes are like $70, and we don't need to spend that much money on one makeup palette, so I'm going to go in just with this one and kind of show you. They're so soft, so blendable, so buttery. They're really pretty. I think they had 3 or 4 different colors of like combos, so you can check Sephora.com. You can go in store. I'm sure they have it on their website too. I'm going to go in with this lightest shade, which I believe is Sienna. Makes sense. And I'm just going to put that in my crease. Not too much, just enough. One thing I have noticed with this shade, it is pretty orangey. So if you put too much, you're going to see that orange, and it's kind of going to change your whole look. If you want to just leave it minimal, I would definitely do maybe like 1 or 2 taps into the eyeshadow shade and then blend it out. It also depends on your brush and how much you're putting down. But see how it's almost a little bit orangey? So this is probably plenty. I don't need to do any more than that. And this brush that I'm using is from a Lorac palette. I really like it. It's just like a double-ended brush. I can't even remember what palette it came with, but I really like it and I use it a lot. So then I'm going to go in with a smaller blending brush, and I'm going to put the color Bronzage. That can't be right. This is so confusing. Okay, this has to be the color Soil, which means this is the color Quan, not Sienna. I really can't tell. That is kind of confusing. That's the worst thing about these palettes, is when they put the names of the colors on the back instead of the front, and then you can't tell, is it going the way that I'm looking at it? Is it going from the other direction? I know that it seems silly, but it really is complicated. We need to be able to figure out something with this. I'm going to use this other blending brush. This is so old I can't even read it. So that's cool, that's fine. And I'm going to take that color Soil, put it on the outside, and I'm just going to tap it in like this. Wow, that's really pigmented. Wow, okay. Put it on the other side. I haven't blended it out yet. We're just tapping down the product right now. Just laying down the pigment. Okay, then we can start blending. So I'm just using kind of feathery strokes. I'm really not putting a lot of pressure on my brush at all. I'm holding down at the end. It is just a really pretty, I mean, it's almost just completely neutral brown. At first you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a little warm, and then the next time you're like, that's a little cool. I think it's honestly just neutral. I think it's just a neutral brown. So that's really great for all different kinds of skin tones, really. Okay. I'm going to go in with one more blending brush. This is the Morphe M573, and it is just really easy to blend out the edges with this brush. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with the color Bronzage, which is this color right here. I'm going to spray my brush. It doesn't matter what setting spray. This is the one I have handy. Dip it into that Bronzage color, and I'm going to put it all over the lid. Oh my gosh. You guys, that is a really pretty color. Really pretty. Just going to blend it out into that matte shade. Shouldn't take much. Then I'm going to take a much smaller, I mean, this is like the tiniest eyeshadow brush that I have, I think. And I'm also going to spray that. And I'm going to dip into this color Lumino. And then I'm going to put that on the inner third of my eye and down into the inner corner. Let's try it with my finger. Oh yeah, that's better. That is better. So on that shade, I didn't get quite as much pigment with a brush, so once I went back in with my finger, it was definitely better, which is fine because then I'm also going to go back into bronzage, and I'm going to blend that out with my finger as well to make sure there's no harsh lines. Okay, so here is the eye look. In case I had any fallout, which this does have a little bit of fallout in the palette, not a ton, but a little bit, I'm going to just go under my eye and swipe. Okay, so let's go on the underneath. I'm going to take that first color we used, the kind of camel color, and I'm going to run that right under my lower lash line. That way we're a little bit smoky, but it's not too much. If we were to take this soil color, it could make us look really smoky, really intense, and we don't really want that today. So I'm just gonna leave that. And then actually just for a little bit of kind of a liner effect, let's go in, we'll spray our brush again. I'm gonna go into that soil color, that deep brown, and I'm actually just going to use that as a liner. So I'm gonna put that right against my upper lash line. That just gives you a little bit of definition. And then we're going to go in with some mascara. First I'm going to curl my eyelashes. And then I'm going to use the Clinique High Impact Mascara. This is one of my favorites recently. This is just a sample that I got, but it really helps define and separate your lashes, and it also gives you some length, so it's very pretty. Okay, so that's 2 coats on each eye, and then I'm going to run it along the lower lash line as well. Okay, that is very pretty. I'm just going to take a little bit of brow mascara as well as my eyebrow pencil. So I'm having a little trouble growing my hairs in right here on my eyebrow. We're looking a little sparse. So I'm just going to fill in where I think it's a little sparse. And then I'm going to take my brow mascara. I really like the kind of feathered out eyebrow look. So that's where I'm going to brush them to. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm going to take this Physicians Formula lipstick in Pop the Bubbly. This came with the Casey Holmes collaboration. I absolutely love her. The palette's a little bulky, but I really like this color, and it smells good. It smells really nice. So it's got a little bit of shimmer to it, but that I really just like the color. And then I'm going to take this Infallible 8-Hour Pro Gloss in the shade 405 Coral Sands. Put that right over top. So you can tell I still look professional. I look healthy. My eyes look bright. And once I spray this last spritz of setting spray, I'm going to be done. I should be set all day. You can use any setting spray that you want. If you have a more long-lasting one and you don't really care about being dewy, that's fine too. But that's really just the end of it. So if you have any questions, definitely leave them below. But I have had a blast filming this with you today, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.